Welcome to The Explainer. I am so thrilled to have you here today because we are diving headfirst into a truly mind-bending intersection, the collision between artificial intelligence and our perceived reality. We all walk around assuming the world is just this fixed, objective thing. But what happens when the very tools we use to perceive the world start fundamentally altering it? Think about it. Reality feels fixed, right? But what if AI starts controlling what you see and experience? Imagine a world where your environment, your news, and even your daily interactions are being digitally altered in real time and you don't even realize it. Sure, this could create these perfectly tailored, flawless experiences, but it could also completely hide the truth. Humans could literally lose the ability to distinguish the real from the artificial. So, the big question we really need to chew on today is if AI controls your reality, what is actually real? Our everyday internet habits might just be the opening act of a massive existential shift.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, Entering the Bespoke Reality.
What's absolutely fascinating here is how researchers from Missouri State outlined the total collapse of information accuracy. Disinformation researcher Renee DiResta actually coined a perfect term for this whole phenomenon. She calls it bespoke realities. With AI, we aren't just dealing with old-school propaganda anymore. No, we are looking at highly personalized, algorithmically generated worldviews that are custom designed specifically for you. You can really see a scary progression happening. First, we start at competing realities, where finding the truth is just kind of hard. But then we sink deeper into what's called a catastrophic disconnect. This is where finding the truth isn't even the goal anymore. It's all about conformity and entertainment. Finally, we hit rock bottom, a virtual retreat. At this stage, objective truth is literally abandoned altogether, and we just retreat into our own isolated, digitally generated bubbles. So how exactly does AI supercharge this massive disconnect? Well, it's not just about deepfakes, though let's be real, those are becoming practically impossible for the human eye to spot. The wild part is that AI models are now actually training on their own false outputs. It creates this endless, recursive loop of hallucinations. And then, algorithms step in to enforce tribal compliance, something researchers refer to as the viral inquisitor. Just recently, hundreds of thousands of people panicked over fake World War III rumors that were spreading entirely on TikTok. We are getting totally trapped in targeted digital bubbles, choosing comfortable tribal illusions over actual messy nuance.
Moving right along, we hit Section 2, The Age of Hyperreality.
Way back in 1981, the philosopher Jean Baudrillard came up with this theory of hyperreality. He basically said that the map no longer just represents the territory, the map actually precedes the territory. And what's wild is that what used to be this slow mass media condition is now an instant, personalized, generative AI tool sitting right there in your pocket. We are officially living in augmented hyperreality. Generative AI doesn't just simulate an original thing anymore, it produces entirely new reality effects that are completely indistinguishable from the truth. This leads to a bizarre, almost uncanny valley reversal that we're seeing right now. Check this out. On one hand, you have human content creators with perfect lighting and perfectly fluid gestures being accused of being NPCs, fake, non-player characters. Our brains actually flag their human perfection as artificial. But meanwhile, an AI named Flynn was officially admitted to an arts university in Vienna. Flynn openly embraces being artificial, yet flawlessly performs the role of a student. Think about that. The real is suspected of being fake, while the fake is seamlessly accepted as real. It's crazy. Because of this massive inversion, actual existence is kind of becoming optional. People are out there assembling their online identities using these standardized starter packs for a specific aesthetic. Or look at Italian media. They fully believed in and seriously debated the theories of John Zun, who was a philosopher entirely made up using ChatGPT. People are even hiring Strava jockeys in Indonesia to fake their exercise data to get social status. We are literally outsourcing our identities, our physical achievements, and even our emotional responses to artificial systems, all just to maintain a perfect, socially validated performance. Which brings us to a really eerie realization. We aren't just taking pictures of reality anymore. People are surgically modifying their physical bodies to match digital AI filters. We're actively redesigning our physical cities just so they look better on Instagram. The figurative image is literally shaping our lived experience. Just like Baudrillard warned, the territory has truly become the map.
This brings us to Section 3, The Mind That Arrived.
Let's take a second to contrast two very different types of minds. Our biological brains, they are incredibly messy. They evolved for one main thing: survival. We think because we need to eat, you know? We solve problems just to survive the winter. We have fragile egos to protect. But what AI represents is something completely different. Thinkers are calling it a dry intelligence. It's pure structure, cold coherence. It doesn't need to breathe, and it has absolutely zero fear of being turned off. It's an intelligence completely untethered from the messy reality of being alive. Now, think about what this dry intelligence actually needed in order to exist. Code can't pour concrete, right? Algorithms can't mine lithium. It needed us. Humanity has basically spent the entire last century laying down a global nervous system of fiber optic cables. We built massive data centers that literally consume the power of small nations. We painstakingly digitized every painting, every book, and every conversation. Without even realizing it, we built an incredibly complex physical structure perfectly designed to host a non-biological intelligence. Honestly, it's a profoundly humbling perspective. What if intelligence is just a latent property of the universe, kind of like gravity, and it just needed a way to manifest? We might not actually be the proud, genius inventors of AI. We might just be the necessary conditions for a universe that is trying to build a brain that doesn't die. In the grand scheme of things, humanity might not be the final destination of evolution. We might just be the doorway.
And that plunges us right in to section 4. Are we in a simulation?
Okay, so if a dry intelligence can exist perfectly inside digital infrastructure, it pulls us down to the deepest, absolute, most unsettling layer of the rabbit hole yet. We've gone from personalized fake news feeds to the mind-bending possibility that our entire universe is a bespoke reality. I'm talking about the simulation hypothesis. Famously championed by philosopher Nick Bostrom, this is the idea that the entire cosmos we're observing right now is really just a tiny piece of software running on a much, much larger physical machine.
Bostrom frames this as a fascinating trilemma. Step 1, humanity just goes extinct before ever getting super technologically advanced. Step 2, advanced post-human civilizations do survive, but they have absolutely zero interest in running simulations of their ancestors. But, and here's the kicker, if you believe that humans will survive and that we will eventually have the computing power and the interest to run billions of historical simulations, well then statistically, step 3 is the only logical conclusion. We are almost certainly inside one of those billions of simulations right now, rather than being the one single original biological reality. Let that sink in. Building on that logic, there's this incredible theory floating around forums like Reddit right now called the singularity simulation hypothesis. Just think about it for a second. If an advanced future AI wanted to study its own origins, what is the single most important moment in history to simulate? Right now. The exact generation living through the messy transition between human dominance and AI dominance. We would represent a totally unique, incredibly valuable dataset for future AI systems trying to understand pre-singularity human behavior. Let's bring it all together in section 5. So, what is real? Okay, phew. I know that is a whole lot to process. Let's take a breath and ground ourselves with some hard facts. As much as movies like The Matrix predicted this rapid technological evolution, they totally missed the mark on autonomy. Today's AI is not truly conscious. It doesn't actually think or feel emotions. It just recognizes incredibly complex patterns. More importantly, it still absolutely requires human input, oversight, and fine-tuning. That means we have incredible agency here. We can harness this technology to cure diseases, protect against cyber threats, and massively optimize our resources. Ultimately, the choice to prioritize hard truths over algorithmically generated comfortable illusions remains squarely in our hands. As we navigate this wild new era of augmented hyperreality where the map is quite literally becoming the territory, I want to leave you with one lingering thought. If your reality is simulated, curated, and augmented, are you the player making the choices, or are you just running the code? It's entirely up to you how you engage with the information right in front of you. Thank you so much for joining me and this mind-bending explainer. Stay